tech is the best stepping stone for you to be able to start your business, because you can get remote work, you can get high income to qualify for loans, and you can get all the free time that you need to build your entrepreneurial journey or your business venture on the side. You can be working an hour, 2-3 hours a day, making 6 figures, where you can take your work meetings, you can go and meet clients, you can go and tour buildings, you can do everything you need to do remotely.
Yeah.
And then you have that guaranteed income, you have those health benefits, you have that unlimited PTO, you have everything you need to build your business.
Welcome to another episode of Tech is the New Black, your source for discovering experts in the technology space that are here to give you exclusive information and secret tips, all meant to help you break into tech, scale in this industry, and of course, start your own billion-dollar tech company. Y'all, we have a very special guest today, a guest that I've actually not got to interview this kind of guest before, mainly one, because they are in cybersecurity, which is a very cool space in general that I get a lot of questions from y'all about. But also this guest is incredibly successful, both in tech and cybersecurity, as well as his endeavors outside of tech. So the guest today is Chris G. He's making huge waves online, educating people about the opportunities that are in tech. And so, of course, got to go ahead and read off his bio, so that way we all put some respect on his name and know who we talking to. So Chris determined that tech was the quickest way to earn a high income to qualify for real estate and business loans to jumpstart his entrepreneurial journey. He received his $500,000 portfolio at the age of 24 by working only 1 hour a day. Now he travels the world, builds his companies while having guaranteed 6-figure W-2 income, unlimited paid time off, and health insurance. He is the most interesting man in the world. I added that last part. Yo, Chris, bro. First off, bro, thank you for being on. And how are you doing?
For sure, bro. I'm happy to be here, and I'm doing good. It's been a hectic day so far. It's been a hectic week, but that's just the life that we chose.
Bro, you seem busy, productive. You seem very productive.
Productively busy, selectively busy.
Yeah.
And that's the way that I'd like it to be.
I respect it, bro. I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. It's so crazy. This isn't even on the agenda to talk about this, but just was saying that it's so crazy how I used to think, and maybe you were this way too, or maybe you weren't like this, but I used to think that, once I got to a certain income or got to a certain place, then it's like, I'm gonna have all this freedom. And it's like, I realized, man, that freedom is boring. It's like, I want to do something more, whether it's giving back to people or it's just like seeing how we could scale further. Like, was it the same for you, or like, what is your motivation for like being so productively busy?
So when the pandemic started, that's when my job actually transitioned to remote. And that's when I had my first taste of remote. I didn't get into tech for that because I didn't really even think it existed at the time. But by going remote, my job was already simple. But when I was in the office, I was working, maybe 2 to 3 hours a day with in-person meetings, things like that. When I went remote, I could get everything done in about an hour's time. So I was sitting around for 7 hours a day, not doing anything for so long. And that kind of showed me that I need to be doing something more. But I want it to be fulfilling. So obviously the solution to that isn't to try to work more or put more hours into the same job or find something else that I didn't enjoy. Yeah. So I was like, let me, pursue entrepreneurship or something else that could fulfill my time and kind of give me more of a structure and more of something that I would enjoy doing, I guess.
Yeah. So let's pull it back real quick. Like, what made you think, like, what went off in your head that was like, tech is an industry, tech is a space that I should work in, or I should get a 9-to-5 job in? And more specifically, like, why cyber?
So when I was a kid, I'd probably say about 10 years old, after like watching YouTube videos and things like that, I started gravitating towards technology. And that was like back in the days where you could jailbreak your PS3 and, get games and stuff like that. And by watching tutorials on how to do those things, I just gravitated towards technology and computers. And at the age of like 11, I built my first computer. And that's when I started watching like
11. Bro, I've not built a computer yet, and you built a computer at 11 years old.
Yeah, man, it was literally like putting Legos together. Like, it's really not.
No, don't say that. You can't just say that. You can't just say that, because now you're gonna have me looking at Legos different. Okay, so you built a computer. Wow, at 11 years old. Impressive. And so, my bad, I took your thunder. Go ahead.
No, I mean, and this is by putting different pieces and different components together. Like I got like 2 like old computers in my school thrown away, and I got 1 computer donated to me, and I put all those parts together to make my own. So I kind of had like a Jimmy rigged computer at home. But
and it turned on and everything, like all of that.
Everything worked.
That's crazy.
Man, we didn't even have internet in my house at the time. So it's like I end up going to buy like a little Wi-Fi card and had to use my neighbor's internet and things like that. And sometimes the signal would be bad. It would go out and have to like move the computer to the left side of my room so I could like connect to their house more. It was a whole Jimmy rigged like setup.
That's crazy.
By having to troubleshoot those things, I had to learn more and more. And that's when I learned about like internet protocols and DNS and things like that. And then going to that a little farther, like me as a kid, I was so fascinated by things, and like that's when I got an Xbox and I started learning how to JTAG those things, and I got more into learning about networking by using like Cain and Abel and using like IRC servers and botnets. And just as a joke, like I could like use a DDoS attack to flood someone's internet with extra packets and kind of like hit them offline in a way if someone's like talking crap in like a party or something like that. You could just kind of kick them out of the game.
So they would talk trash to you while you're playing the game, and then you would basically like hack them, or you would send something over to them that would like mess them up or kick them out of the game.
Yeah, so you could use a software called Cain and Abel, and what it'll do is it'll show you the active connections on your network at the time. Because now most Call of Duty games or online games are server based. Everyone's connected to a server. But back in the day, some games might still do this now, but back in the day, the strongest internet connection was the host. So everyone was interconnected with each other.
Yeah.
So I would have to guess sometimes if they were in a party with me, it'd be a little bit easier. The person talking the most, they would have the most packets sent back and forth. That's how I would know which IP address was which. And then I would use an IRC server.
So you could look at stuff and tell whose IP address was whose based off of the rate of which how much someone was talking, and you would look at the packets that were sent and That's crazy. That's smart. But go ahead.
I got it wrong sometimes. I'll hit the wrong person offline a couple times, but I mean, using a denial of service attack, you can realistically only do it for a little bit, unless then you end up using your bots or your servers capacity at that point. But I could hit them offline for 10 to 15 minutes, and they would think that the internet was gone. I've had like a mom call me once or twice, just mad and like our internet's messed up and things like that. But just as a joke, it would turn off and turn back on. But that's how I kind of got into that space. And by being in that space, I met like people that do hack and do all these other things. I never got into those, but that's what really like exposed me to tech. And I was never passionate about it to the point of working, but it seemed like it would be the easiest job for me or the lowest barrier of entry for me to get into that space.
Yeah. So you saw the different roles in tech, and in your mind, you're like, okay, I see cybersecurity, and I feel like, this is the lowest barrier of entry for me.
So I actually went into college for an IT degree in my S degree. So half my curriculum was business, half of it was information systems.
Okay.
And my school introduced the cybersecurity degree my junior year, and that's when I declared a double degree. I actually have 2 bachelor's degrees.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
And there are separate prerequisites, separate everything. So I had to redo everything to get the cybersecurity degree. I ended up taking like 4 to 5 semesters of like 21 credit hours, doing full summer workloads, spring courses, winter classes, and everything. Man. I finished both degrees in 4.5 years with like a 3.82 for cyber and a 3.7 for the MIS.
Or you were not playing.
But I didn't study at all. I didn't have to do much work. It was second nature to me. All the IT classes, it was common sense to me. Like I could read through the questions, I would know which answer was the right one. Like I never had to study.
Do you think that was because of just you growing up, like messing around with everything, or do you think there was just something innate about you that you just caught on, like you connected with it?
I feel like I had enough experience just like with being computer literate and just being around those things. I could kind of like look at the question and break down to which one made sense.
Yeah.
So if I were to go to a different discipline in school or try to learn something outside of like my natural knowledge, it wouldn't have been as easy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I was able to just kind of put things together. And same thing with cybersecurity. I mean, it just were common sense things like what is a firewall? Like, should you have this length of password? Like 2-factor authentication is good because it's this. It gives people multiple chances to secure their workloads. It just seemed, it was common sense to me. Yeah. It always has been. So I got a chance to like kind of like float through school and not really have to try very hard.
Yeah, bro, that's super cool. The fact that you got to flow through school, not try really hard, but you got dual degree. That's funny. In the same time frame, it takes some people to struggle through to get one. That's really cool. So you started working while in college. So you didn't wait until after college to then go out and get a job in tech, or like what was that timeline like for you?
So this is going to sound crazy, and I'll explain after, but I did 8 different internships and co-ops during college. And when I tell people that, the first thing that comes to their mind is that there's not even 8 summers in college. So I did.
Yeah, that's true. So you did 2 a summer?
So there was one job I was doing in concurrency with others, but some of those internships are co-ops as well. So you do those during the school year. And I got my first internship after my freshman year, my freshman summer at like VCU Medical Hospital I was doing ServiceNow administration, and I was doing SharePoint. And once you get for one internship, it's easy to get more. Just like in the real world, when you get one job, it's easy to get more on top of that. Yeah. So I was a freshman or going to sophomore year with an internship already. And then I interview well, I speak well, I'm very articulate, especially when it comes to IT things. So I was able to speak to it very well. So I would go to job fairs and networking events, things like that, and it would be easy for me to pick up more internships. Mm-hmm. So after that, it was just a domino effect. I just kept on getting more and more. And then my theology behind that is I'd rather work smarter than harder. I was seeing that I'm able to make $20+ an hour sitting behind a desk typing, where all my friends are having serving jobs, and still kids, no one had a degree yet. My friends in college, they were doing lifeguard jobs and things like that. Mm-hmm. I was sitting behind a desk in the AC, just typing on a computer, making more money. So I was like, why not keep doing this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. But going back to what you were saying at the beginning of our conversation, how did you figure out how to work 1 hour a day for 8 hours of work? What is there a hack or
so that's going into the
and share whatever you can or can't share. I ain't trying to
Yeah, I mean, I get really good employee reviews. I'm not struggling at my job. So it's, even if they were to see this, I don't think that it'd be the biggest deal in the world. They may try to give me more work or something, but I went into the consulting industry firsthand, because at that point I hadn't really considered sales, but I knew that I had a natural ability to articulate information. I'm an extrovert. I'm a people person. So it seemed like the consulting industry would have been a really good niche for me. And also the way that I grew up, my family didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't get a chance to travel much. So the idea of being able to travel for work and go to nice cities and, have per diem and get my meals paid for, while also being the bridge or the liaison between tech and the business side, because I had the MIS degrees, a business degree and an IT degree, it seemed like it was perfect for me. And you make more money like that, because a lot of times in the tech space, there's a lot of introverted people that kind of are better off working alone. So when you find an extroverted person that can speak to tech but also knows business, that can be the liaison for that, the in between, that's when you make the most money.
Yeah, that's true. Those are facts.
So when I found that out, I was like, okay, well, I got to do this.
Yeah.
But after doing research on YouTube videos and things like that, when I started applying for consulting jobs, I saw that the traveling really wasn't that glamorous. Mm-hmm. You're working most of the time, you're in the city, you're gone, Sunday night through Thursday every week, having to pack up a suitcase and live out of a suitcase. So I was like, I'm not doing that. And after a couple of interviews for companies, one of the companies that sent me a job offer, they actually had 2 different departments. They had a department that was more of the post installation side. So I was just maintaining what the services based or service side already did. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't actually have to travel to the client. I'd only have to travel 10% per the year. And I was just managing different projects at that time, all from the office. So I wouldn't get the chance to travel like I wanted to experience the world in that way, but I could not be living out of a suitcase. So I feel like that was the best in between for me.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So you found something that was just a real good, perfect merger for you at the end of the day.
And let me explain the hour part. I kind of skipped over that question, but so the job for me was reactive. So I only had to work when something broke. So if I was given a client and there were opportunities for automation, or let's say something broke and I figured out how to fix it so it wouldn't break again, I wouldn't have to be in a reactive position as often.
Oh yeah, so you would so not just fix it, but you would fix it in a way that would limit the amount of times that it would be the possibility of it breaking again.
Exactly. So I was like, if I could just put a lot of effort up front to make this more of a passive job for me, why not?
That's smart. It seems so common sense, in hindsight or in retrospect or just hearing it. But it's man, most people don't think that way. Most people just think, okay, yeah, let me do this job. Let me just kind of fix it just to where it's fixed for now, but don't realize how they're going to just continue to have to do more work.
Yeah, and even though I seem very articulate with tech and things like that, I still don't program. I'm still not, fluent in a programming language.
Oh, that's crazy.
So to automate things, I outsourced the work on Upwork for someone to make scripts for me and make some of the functions that I needed to actually fix the process workflow or to automate some of the tasks I needed done.
All right, whoa. All right, hold up. Let's rewind. All right, so some of the work that you would get, Because when you just said that you don't code, because I assumed that you were a programmer, that you also could code. Wait. Okay, that's crazy. All right, my head's getting all types of messed up now. I don't know. Y'all heads might be getting messed up too. My head is getting messed up. So, because not just being in cyber, but all the other things you've done, it's like, oh, you have to know programming languages. So you're saying that you found a way to basically like offhand some of your work to other people, so that way you would still be, the job would still be getting done. Mm-hmm. But instead of you doing something, instead of you having to take time to learn a programming language where that takes up a lot of time, instead you treated your time in a way where you said, hey, instead I'm going to trade this off. I'm going to pass this off to someone else who's looking for work and have them do this particular task instead, where the job is still getting handled.
Right, but they weren't doing the actual job for me. So this can't be applicable to every situation, but I was finding that I was getting called, or incidents were happening for very repetitive tasks. I would get a call and I would have to go in and remote into their software and check the same thing over and over again. Yeah. It was the fixed procedures were very similar and repetitive. Mm-hmm. Similar and repetitive means that it can be automated, it can be scripted.
That's true. That's good.
And even though I'm not fluent in code myself, I know how to plug and play. So if I see different things, I can rename the functions to make it connect to within the software, because obviously I can't let someone remote into proprietary software. That's when you start getting iffy with things like that.
That's true. Yeah, that's
so
true.
I kind of like typed up what I needed to be done, the remote address for the computers, things like that, so that I could outsource the work or outsource the script to the person at Upwork without them actually needing to use the proprietary software. Then when they delivered the script to me and I verified that it worked on my own environment, I would take it to work and then tailor the script to actually fit my work environment. That way, whenever it happened, someone would call me, I'll just double click a batch script and would run it for me and would take care of it.
Man, that is brilliant. Dude, that's incredible. Like, it's so weird, because obviously we don't do the same kind of work at all. Nevertheless, the overarching like theme, the overarching message of everything you're sharing, I feel like it's applicable to almost every area of work. Just even the message of you saying like, hey, if it's something that's repetitive, it's something that can be automated. So that's a huge nugget. I hope y'all are getting something. Even if you're doing something else, I hope that nugget alone is powerful. If something is repetitive, it can be automated to some degree. That's really cool.
I've always had the work smarter, not harder mindset.
And it's crazy, because I definitely see the theme, like even from just when you were younger, like all the way up to now, I see like that consistent theme, and I think that's super dope. So you were kind of touching on something, and it kind of just made me think, just to go off like on a slight tangent, where I have friends. One of them is a close friend of mine. Y'all actually remind me of each other. It's really freaking crazy. He's the reason I got in tech. He was the reason I was like, yo, this is something I should consider. And he does something. He actually can't be a guest on the show because he's a VP at a tech company, and he does something that's called tech stacking, where he essentially is working at about 5 or 6 tech companies at the same time. But he does something, it's similar to what you mentioned, but I think it's something else. Do you, I guess, know of any people who like do tech stacking? A lot of my followers and people ask about it, and I don't do that. I'm somewhat familiar with it, but I'm not well versed enough in it to be like a good resource on that. So like, is that something that you're knowledgeable about? Like, what does that look like? If someone wants to do that, how would they go about doing it?
So I have some close friends that actually do tech stacking now, and my best advice for that is, you have to find a really in-demand skill, and you have to master it yourself, because it's hard to get one job, let alone multiple. So you have to be within like the top 20%, top 10% within that job field or that job, to actually be able to apply.
And that's my homeboy, the guy I was telling. He's like top 10% ranked in Georgia in terms of like what he does. So yeah, but go ahead.
And then the advice you gave people the other day, you have to keep on replying. You have to keep on applying to jobs, and you're going to get a lot of rejection, but you have to keep on replying or applying to get those. But for job stacking specifically, the best approach that I feel like that I've heard about from my friends is to find like agile based like development jobs. So you're dealing with work in sprints, and in the best case scenario, you'll be handed, work, and you'll have 2 weeks to get that work done, or a week to get that work done. So you're not having to deal with multiple meetings at one time. You're not having to deal with multiple like hands-on things throughout the day, because most of the time in development jobs, you will have to actually put in a lot of upfront time to finish whatever's been given you for that project. But a lot of times also you can get it done early. And if you're given something that's a development job or development piece of work, you can outsource that. So what they're doing is they're getting programming jobs, and they're being given work in this agile based environment where they have a week or two to actually submit it, and they have people that they found through various sources of Upwork, or maybe they're outsourcing it overseas on like remotejobs.ph, which is like a Philippines outsourcing website, and they're handing the instructions for the project and the deliverables that need to be done, and they're getting the work back and they're submitting it, on their behalf. And this is a gray area right now with companies, because as long as the company doesn't have an NDA and it doesn't say specifically in your employee paperwork, a lot of times they don't nowadays, it really isn't illegal to work multiple tech jobs. The outsourcing part about it is where it can be iffy. Yeah. Because if your company works with sensitive information or sensitive data, you're allowing someone else to see that data and work on it.
Yeah, that's true.
So it depends on what company and what industry and the terms within the employment contract on whether or not you can do this or not. And even if you were to try to be transparent and tell a job, hey, I want to work more than one, that probably wouldn't be the best idea. Yeah. But I do know people that are honest about it and say they have one other job, but they'd already been at the first job for multiple years, and they have that established rapport and credibility that they are comfortable allowing them to work multiple jobs. But just imagine this. Let's, for a simple number's sake, say that you have one programming job that makes $100,000 a year. Let's say within a week period you probably work, let's say a day period, let's say you work 2 hours a day. Imagine adding another six-figure job on top of that. Now you're at $200,000 a year. Not even considering the outsourcing at this point. Let's say you add a third on top of that. Now you're making $300,000 a year.
Working 6 hours a day.
Working 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And now for one job to get to $300,000, you have to be like a principal engineer at a top tier tech company.
That's true.
Whereas if you're just a mid-level programmer at just a regular tech company, you're able to get to the $300,000 mark almost instantaneously once you acquire those jobs.
Yeah, that's true.
And from my friends and people that I've known in that space, it's actually called overemployment. They're on Reddit and things like that. There's whole communities of people that do it. Mm-hmm. They're able to pay off their mortgages early, buy cars, go on vacations, because you're tripling your income.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So if you want to do that for a few years in your 20s and work really hard and actually work 8 hours a day, you can make 3 to 4 times as much money and then use that money for investments and never have to work again.
Is that something, did you do something similar? Because going back to your bio, and even when I first found out about you, a close friend of mine or a good friend of mine shared your page with me, and I was like, oh, this guy is killing it. And I was like, he's doing some really dope things. He's doing some stuff that I plan on doing at some point. And all of the friends that I have that are in tech and that are doing the things you're doing, they're all even older than I am. So I was like, yo, this guy's like way ahead of the game on this. So how did you build out your portfolio?
So the real estate portfolio, one cool thing about not getting too in the weeds and like real estate terminology and things like that, but if you get a job within your degree field, you can actually qualify for a mortgage 6 months after graduating. You don't need to wait 2 years for your proof of income. So one of the biggest reasons why I chose tech is because I wouldn't have to work my way up multiple years to get to the 80 plus, 6-figure plus salary mark. Yeah. And really all you need is the salary. A W-2 income is gold within the real estate loan space.
Yeah, I just realized recently that, with certain loans, they respect it more with you having a 9 to 5. Like even if you have a business that's making a lot of money, they feel more comfortable with you having a W-2 income, even if it's a little bit less. That's crazy.
Because it's seen as secure, guaranteed income.
Yeah.
But there's a ways around that. You just make your LLC and put yourself on a W-2 and pay yourself from your LLC.
Okay.
You can just dividend yourself if you need more money. So there's ways around that.
I appreciate it. He giving different angles, different ways to skin the cat. I appreciate that.
But I ended up reading Rich Dad Poor Dad like my junior year of college, going into my junior year. And that's when the first time I had like the idea of not working for money, not exchanging your time for money, and entrepreneurship kind of shoved down my throat from that book. And that's when I changed my perspective on money and what I should be doing with it. And that's when I was living off of my my student loans. It was paying for my classes and all that stuff. So every bit of income that I made, it was just extra at that point. I could spend it. So I started saving all my money. And by the time I graduated, I ended up watching like 5 or 6 YouTube videos on real estate and how to buy it, 10-minute YouTube videos. Yeah. And then that's when I found out about the FHA loan product where you put 3.5% down. And I ended up going to like tour buildings and things like that to see which ones I could buy, because I only wanted a triplex or a quadplex so I could get the most amount of doors for one time on a loan. And for the second quadplex and going to tour, I fell in love with it and wanted to buy it. So I went through the process of just using my income to qualify for the loan.
So this is your income in tech. to your 9 to 5. Does your income in tech from you working the job, the 1 hour a day?
Right.
Yeah, and then you took that and.
Right, but actually my income wasn't enough to qualify at first.
Oh, okay.
And this is when I found out it's actually easier to qualify for a multifamily than it is for a single family, because you're able to use the projected income from the leases of the extra units to offset your DTI.
They say it's more of an investment property.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you can use the extra doors projected income to qualify for the property, and that's how I did that.
Man, dude, it's so cool talking to you, because there are a lot of things that like I mentioned earlier, there are things that I plan on doing, and things that I know a lot of my audience, they hit me up about this, and they're like, man, okay, I'm most of them are completely oblivious as to what tech is. And in my head, I'm like, I thought everyone knew what tech was in general. But as I'm seeing, many of my audience are like, hey, I'm interested in being an investor, or I'm interested in starting a business. And they're hesitant about jumping into tech because they're like, oh, I think that's going to slow me down working in tech. And usually what I tell people is, hey, no, I don't think it'll slow you down. I think you're able to leverage this income and pour it into either your business or pour it into real estate or whatever it is you want to pour it into. But I'm always thinking from the vantage point of working like, okay, 6 or 8 hours a day, not realizing, especially because I'm in customer facing roles. I'm a sales engineer. So it's different from the roles that you're speaking about, where it's more deadline based. And I know it's sprint, and there's certain tech terminology that we understand in this space, but for people that aren't in tech, they are like, what's a sprint? What's this? What's that? And so it's like, yeah, it's basically deadline based, where if you can knock it out sooner, then you can save time on the back end.
Exactly. And to all of my entrepreneurs watching, to all the people that aspire to be business owners, tech is the best stepping stone for you to be able to start your business, because you can get remote work, you can get high income to qualify for loans, and you can get all the free time that you need to build your entrepreneurial journey or your business venture on the side. You can be working an hour, 2-3 hours a day, making 6 figures, where you can take your work meetings, you can go and meet clients, you can go and tour buildings, you can do everything you need to do remotely.
Yeah.
And then you have that guaranteed income. You have those health benefits. You have that unlimited PTO. You have everything you need to build your business.
Yeah, man. All of those factors. I know there's a list of young artists that I know, and they're doing really well, but of course they're not making any real kind of money. And many of them, it's not just them. It's something in the culture today where people are so afraid of a 9 to 5, where it's like 9 to 5s are talked down on. And I understand, like, obviously no one should sell their soul to a job that's only paying them $40,000, $50,000 a year, especially as you start to get a little bit older, and okay, now your time and now your goals should start becoming bigger and growing. And so, like, what would you say to someone, and you kind of touched on some of this just a moment ago, what would you say to someone that's like, they're kind of stuck in between? They're like, man, well, I'm trying to not work a job, I'm trying to grow this business, but this business isn't making any money yet for me to truly live off of, or I'm trying to live off of it, but now I'm eating off the business, so I'm not able to reinvest money back into the business. So I'm in this weird stagnant place. Like, what suggestions would you have for someone like that?
So there's 2 suggestions I would have. The first one is to take you up on your offer and go do the tech bootcamp within, I don't know, how long is the bootcamp?
Well, it depends on which one it is, but most of them that I generally talk about or that I partner with are somewhere between a month to 3 months.
So in a month to 3 months, you could finish the tech bootcamp, find a job reasonably. So 3 to 4 months investment in your time could guarantee you the income that you need to support yourself while trying to build your business. And like Cyrus said, and like I said, you don't need to be a very computer literate person necessarily to be in tech. If you're not that person, but you're extrovert and you can speak, you just need to know a high level of what technologies are, and you can speak to them, and that could kind of be your job. That could be your passport to help build your business, give you the free time and give you that income, so you're not stressed about your business not making money yet.
Yeah.
You'll get a remote job where you can work from home, you can continue to build your business, and you're going to be living off of the tech income. It'll kind of give you that peace of mind. And the second thing that I'd want to mention for advice for people is, if you're a person that's already in the entrepreneurial space, I feel like you'll succeed the most in sales, whether that's pre-sales engineering, that's more of a higher barrier of entry, or you could go straight into tech sales. You'll have a lower base salary and a lower OTR, which is on target OTE, on target earnings. But if you put in more effort and you master cold calling, you can dictate how much money you make. You can make more for yourself. So it's going to give you that entrepreneurial feel, but still with the security of a job, and you'll still be working remotely.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's wild, the opportunities. Like, it's such a beautiful time to be alive where, I mean, it is a beautiful time for entrepreneurs. It's a beautiful time in terms of what we can do, from whether we're talking social media or just the freedom of exposure that you can have now. But it also is a wonderful time in terms of still working a 9-to-5 in tech. And I love the aspect of the component of pairing both together, of being like, hey, let me leverage this high income job, pour it into a business, or pour it into real estate, or pour it into the stock market, or whatever it is that they want to pour it into, until now it doesn't make sense for me to work a 9-to-5 anymore, because now my businesses or other things that I'm doing are now like bringing in so much money that now not only am I able to live off of it, now I'm able to reinvest back into the business. Now I'm able to reinvest into other things. So with that being said, like, where are you currently at, and what's like next for you?
Right now, I just got my PMP 2 days ago. So the area that I want to go into, I'm not
PMP. Is that a product management thing?
It's a project management professional certificate.
Okay.
But the PMP is really hard to get because you need 35 hours of specific accredited training, and you need 3 years or 36 months of direct project management experience to even get the PMP. Mm-hmm. But the PMP it's not specific to one industry. Like, you can be in construction and use the project management. You're managing projects.
Yeah.
But that knowledge of that is applicable to almost anything. Yeah. To have that behind my name, and it'll help me a lot out with the job specifically. But I want to go more to a role that is commission based as well, that has a higher base salary, mm-hmm. so that I can kind of start there. But I'm also kind of in between because I have my entrepreneurial ventures as well. But the fact that I've gone so far in tech, it's easier for me to get higher salaries. So it's like, if I'm able to make a really high salary and also get commission based, and I'm able to automate my businesses in a way that I'm only having to delegate certain hours to them or things like that, mm-hmm. on top of me being remote, I feel like what I want to do with myself is I want to have a 200,000 plus base salary job with commission. And then I want to start building up my companies, the trucking company. I do a little bit of e-commerce. I do wholesaling, mm-hmm. but the wholesaling so far has really just been, as deals get sent to me, I'll kind of flip them over to a hedge fund or different buyers from Facebook groups, things like that. But yeah. I actually want to build an infrastructure around the wholesaling. So I have like a cold calling facility that I'm partnering with, and I'm training up my VAs so they'll start, dealing with the cold calling and the pulling the list for me. And
I'm probably gonna have to talk to you about VAs. I'm gonna hire a VA or two this week, and I should have done it a couple months ago. I should have done it a few months ago, but my hesitation is, in my head, I'm like, well, how are they really going to fully know how to do things? But I've been talking to people that are like, no, VAs are pretty fire and stuff. So I'm definitely going to talk to you like offline about like, okay, how does that relationship like go or work? But my bad, go ahead.
And people have like a different connotation of VAs because they may think that someone is based in India that doesn't know English, but there's VAs in the US, there's VAs in South America. That's probably the best place for me to find a VA because they're more likely to speak better English, be mm-hmm. more fluent and things like that. And also the time zone isn't too much of a difference either, because mm-hmm. India-based VA, their time zone is almost opposite of ours.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. I was recommending the Philippines, some VAs in the Philippines, but I don't even know how their time zone correlates to us here in Georgia.
Yeah, that could be a barrier. I'm not exactly sure what their time zone is either. Mm-hmm. Where was I on the wholesaling? Mm-hmm. But I described myself as a serial entrepreneur, so I think I'd already described everything I was doing with the wholesaling, but I'm trying to turn that into a full business model. Mm-hmm. But all the business models that I choose, the trucking, the wholesaling, the e-commerce, and the real estate, they're considered semi-active, meaning that they don't require me to actually be in the role full time, mm-hmm. so that I can work them, on demand when it's needed, and I can easily delegate the tasks out to run. At the end of the day, if I'm going to be doing anything in the entrepreneurial space, I'm not going to be giving myself another job. They're only going to be delegatable business models that can run without me being there. I'd rather take less money than to be fully in the business. I want it to run by itself.
Yeah, that's good.
And then when the businesses succeed, I'd say like 1 to 2 million net per year. That's when I'll kind of transition out of the tech role, because I actually enjoy my work. I like doing it.
Okay, so you enjoy your work in tech?
Yeah, the hour a day isn't bad.
Yeah, I guess that's not that bad. That's funny, man. That's hilarious. Some people are happy to have an hour a day break. You talking about working an hour a day in tech? That's really cool. So with that, so are you 24 now?
I just turned 25.
Okay, you just turned 25.
Yeah.
You said in July? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I wasn't saying happy birthday, but that's too far away. Say happy birthday. But no, so you just turned 25. So in terms of your $500,000 portfolio that you have built up in 24, how is that split income wise? Like what part of that was tech? What part of that is like other endeavors? And obviously the other endeavors you poured your tech money into those other endeavors, but in terms of like, okay, those other endeavors, whether grossing or net, like what was the split?
So the apartment building that I bought was $400,000, and I bought it at 22, but the closing date was 3 days after my birthday. So I just turned 23, but I was 22 and I put the offer in, and I qualified for all that. Yeah. So the building was $400,000 at the time, but now it's worth almost double that. So it's actually above $500,000 in just the real estate aspect. Man. I caught the beginning of the appreciation boom. So I made a lot of money off of just appreciation. Then I was making cash flow. Then you have principal pay down. Then you also have the tax benefits of real estate. Mm-hmm. But the tech salary, my first job out of college, I made about $75,000, but we got like a 9% quarterly bonus, and I got a sign-on bonus. So with all those combined, I was like 2,000 or 3,000 below the six-figure mark my first job out of college. Mm-hmm. And then the job I work at now, That's
wow, right out of college.
Going consulting. Like the bottom end consulting, it goes by industry average. It's probably went up now, but at the time, 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, when that happened, it was about $70,000 for Georgia. Okay. And so for my listeners that are in DC, that are in California and more expensive places, Georgia's minimum wage is $7.25.
It's still $7.25?
Man, I think it is.
That's wild. Oh my gosh.
I think it's still $7.25.
That's crazy. Eric nodded and was like, yeah, that's crazy.
So $75,000 base when you have $7.25 minimum wage, that's a lot. Whereas DC, their minimum wage is like $14 or $15. California is about the same. So someone in California would need to make double that to be able to, and even their cost of living is still higher than their minimum wage.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So the cost of living in Georgia is still really cheap. So that salary here, I was living living really nice,
Yeah.
But my job now, let me not go too far. So I ended up leaving that job 11 months into it and went to another job. I ended up jumping $40,000 by going to another job.
Yeah. That's nice.
But I got lucky in a way that my first job didn't require much time to me, and my second job didn't either. I kind of went at it from a strategic perspective and choosing the job to make sure I found a reactive role, so that I wouldn't have to work and be hands-on, but I could still make a high salary. So I worked within the consulting industry, but I was on a long-standing project. So the project that I was working on was the project I would stay with. It was a long-term customer. It was a long-term project or product that I was managing and monitoring. So I knew that my job wasn't going to change much, because you go to the consulting industry, you're constantly going through product turnover or project turnover and going to more projects. So you don't know if the one you're going to be on is going to require a lot of work or a little work. It's unpredictable. And I didn't like that, especially for my entrepreneurial ventures. I couldn't have it like that.
Man, so what are some soft skills? Because I know we touched on you have a bunch of different hard skills, things that you learned, whether from studying or just from life experiences, things that you found interesting. And there are the overwhelming majority of people listening and watching might be thinking oh man, all of that sounds great, and I'm willing to learn a lot of those different things, but man, I wish I had when I was younger. I wish I had done X, Y, and Z. I wish I had cared more about computers or care more about technology and had that experience that you had earlier on. But in terms of soft skills of people that are looking to either get into this industry or scale or do just some of the things you're doing, what are some soft skills that you can speak to, do you think are valuable for people to consider?
If you're the type of person that's not in tech now and don't think that you're passionate about it, I feel like the most valuable soft skills you can have is just your ability to articulate information, your ability to speak well and speak at a high level, which is teachable. You really don't need to know the ins and outs of technology. You just need to know the acronyms, how they're applicable to different things, and how to speak to them.
Yeah.
And then you have to tailor those soft skills or those terminologies or words for the interview, the job you're applying for. They just want to be to hear that you can speak to it, and they'll kind of train you from there. So just to go back to reiterate, the most important soft skills to have is just your ability to articulate and speak to the information and understand it at a high level to the point that you can sell the product or work within the space and take the information from the engineers, from the developers, and translate it to the business C-suite executives and kind of just translate that information back and forth. And that's where you'll make the most money.
Man, that's good. I think that's definitely going to help a lot of people because I've seen questions like that come up a lot. And you touched on some things I didn't even ask about, but I definitely appreciate you touching on, because one of the things that people oftentimes come to me about is like, well, I'm not techie, or I don't think that, or they're hesitant, or, imposter syndrome, things like that people oftentimes bring up. And people are like, well, Cyrus, how do you do it? And I just tell them, like, I just put my head down, I just work. Like, it's like, I don't feel techie at all. I still don't think I'm techie. Nevertheless, I'm doing well in this industry and in this space.
They want you to be personable. That's like the people that you're meeting with, especially when you're like business to business or even business B2C, business to consumer. You're speaking with people that a lot of times aren't techie. So they want you to. They don't like. I've been in the industry for a long time, so I've kind of like learned the mannerisms. So like even now I'm speaking, I probably sound like I'm techie, but I'm so used to it. But they chose you, your jobs you work now chose you because you're personable. You can walk into a room with a business person and they feel comfortable. If a person comes in that room and speaks too techie, they'll feel like you're speaking information they don't understand.
Yeah.
And they won't necessarily want to buy a product if they feel like it's too understandable for them.
Yeah, too complicated. Yeah, because one of the things people don't get is that when you work in tech, particularly some of these customer-facing roles or consultative roles, is that when you're talking to, whether it's the CEO of a company or a C-suite exec, unless you're talking to the CTO or whoever's over the technology of that company, whoever it is you're speaking to, they just want stuff in layman's terms, and they want to feel like they're talking to a human and not a robot. They want to feel like they're talking to someone that, okay, you're a genuine, personable person. So I love everything you're saying, because it's like, it's so crazy because people ask me this question, and the way that you just communicated it, I'm like, man, I think it's just incredibly, like, just very perfect. And I love you touching on the aspect of, you've been in this space for a while, so you know the slang, you know the lingo, like you're using some of the acronyms that are familiar within the software industry, but people don't need to be afraid of that when they hear you talking like that. It's like, well, no, it just comes with the territory. If you're in this space long enough, you're going to pick up on the lingo, you're going to pick up on the slang, you're going to pick up on the jargon and stuff.
And honestly, it's an advantage if you haven't picked up on it yet. For the people that want to get into it, it's an advantage if you haven't picked up on it yet, because you're still more personable.
That's real. Yeah, that's real. Yeah, you don't sound like a puppy. You don't sound like, okay, you're just another cookie cutter, person in this space. Oh, you're a real person who is communicating this information to me in a way that doesn't sound like you're just regurgitating, acronyms and regurgitating terms, but you're just speaking to me, breaking stuff down in like a simple way.
Exactly. It's very simple, especially when you really think about it. And also you're proof that you can go in the boot camp, not have a tech background, and excel. And then your story of excelling is far above median tech incomes and things like that. So even if a person feels like they may not have the capacity that you did to excel at your level, even if they were to find a job $60,000, $70,000 less, you're still above six figures. You're still $80,000 entry level. Then 6 months in, working and being immersed in that environment, you'll pick it up. Then you'll be good. But to sit there and say that I don't think I can do this because I'm not techie, you're selling yourself short. Like, the job is going to have to tell me no. I would have to get so many rejections that I ran out of jobs to apply for before I would take no for an answer. Yeah, remote work, 6-figure salary. Yes. I'm going to apply every day, all day. You have to have that type of mentality. Like, the job is going to tell me no. I'm not going to tell myself no.
Yeah. No, that's very real. It's funny because some people, I know a guy who he hit me up recently. He was saying it was after 2 months. He finished the boot camp, and 2 months later, he hit me up. And this was just 3 weeks ago. He hit me up and he was like, man, I'm not getting a job. Man, these companies are racist. And I was like, well, why do you think they're racist? Oh, because they're not hiring me. He was like, yeah, they're not hiring me. And, I'm not getting a job. I said, dude, it's been 2 months. Bro, calm down. Like, most people don't get a job after 2 months of finishing a boot camp. Like, chill out. And I just told him, like, dude, put your head down and put the work in. And people ask me, people tell me about how often they get rejected. And I'm like, I got rejected so many times. I just didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna get in this space one way or another. And I don't know if you saw, maybe you were just kind of referencing this, but someone mentioned, people ask me this all the time. They're like, well, I'm looking at the roles and I don't qualify. And I'm like, I didn't look to see if I qualified. I just applied. And the company I actually got hired at, I didn't qualify. I literally didn't look at the qualifications for the role until they emailed me and confirmed an interview. Then I was like, okay, let me actually look at the description, make sure I'm prepared for the interview. And when I looked over the description, it said they needed someone who was well versed in a couple different programming languages, and that they had had 2 or 3 years experience. I had no experience. I had a boot camp. I still to this day don't know any programming languages. And in my first interview with them, I told them, I said, hey, I'm gonna tell y'all straight up, I don't know how to code or program. And the guy who ended up becoming my manager, he said, cool, I don't either. And we both bust out laughing. We never talked about like programming, and I never had to when I was at that company. So it's like people can't allow, like they just like put your head down, put in the work. And it's like, let them tell you no, and don't allow your own doubts and fears to tell you no.
Let HR do their job and filter through your resume. Still send it anyway.
Yeah, and let HR do their job.
Exactly. And then for like repetitive or like replying, you can LinkedIn, once you like fill out your LinkedIn, you can download a LinkedIn template that makes your resume for you, and it's specifically designed so that when you do the autofill engine, it autofills correctly. Because when I did my resume myself, I always had to go in and fill in the dates
because it would mess everything up out of order. I literally just had a Microsoft recruiter on, and she was sharing how more often than not people, when they upload their resume, it puts things out of order. But you're saying, man, that's crazy. Say that again and explain that so that I make sure everybody hears that.
If you go on your LinkedIn profile, you can either hit there's like the 3 dots for the menu, and it'll either be download as PDF, which will download your profile, but then there's a create a resume part right there. Mm-hmm. You click on that, and LinkedIn will curate and create a resume based off of your profile, and it'll have, like, if you worked at, like, let's say Target, it'll have the Target logo beside Target. It'll have it all organized and very neat, but the way that their template is specifically designed, it's designed so that the autofill engine autofills and finds everything you need correctly, so you'll no longer have to go in and manually fill in data, so you can like apply to jobs a lot easier.
Bro, that's a hack. Not even a hack. That's just information that I didn't know about, and I know a crap ton of other people didn't know about, but that's going to be extremely, extremely helpful.
And I got one other hack I want to give people about LinkedIn too. I probably got 80 rejections, maybe more, for finding my first job. And this is how I did it. I went on LinkedIn and typed in recruiter Atlanta. And when you send a request to a recruiter, you can have 300 characters in a message. So I typed up a 299 character elevator speech selling myself about what I've done, what I want to do, what I've accomplished so far, things about myself within the 300 characters. And I copied and pasted it, send requests, copy paste, send requests for every person. And I would literally go down the list till LinkedIn told me I sent too many requests for the day. And as soon as they accept the request, I sent my resume. You can send an attachment in the messages once they accept your request. So I sent my resume automatically.
Yes.
Then I sent a Calendly link so that they could schedule a time to speak with me. Even if they had internal tools, they would obviously send me something back. But I initiated a conversation with the recruiter where they would break down my resume, and I had a lot of like conversations, even if they didn't have roles. Just by making that relationship with them, they reached out to me later on. Hey, I have a job, because they remembered me. I made an impression on them because of that.
Bro, that's good, man. You were on, like, you made it your job to get a job. Like,
applying for a job is a job. Like I said, LinkedIn stopped me from applying every day.
It's like, I ain't gonna stop. You gotta stop me.
Literally.
I'm with it, man. Dang, bro, this is so good, dude. Man, I definitely we're gonna do a lot of other cool things in the future. The goal is hopefully to have like different events and stuff, and bring on other people and maybe do like panels and things like that. One of the things I've been wrestling with is, okay, like, what are good people to bring back on as a panel? Of course, we're going to allow like the guests to tell us in the comment section, and then like our emails, like what guests they want us to bring on. But dude, I definitely want to like have you back for some other endeavors in the future. Bro, that being said, man, can you please let everybody know who's listening, who's watching, where they can find you, and also anything that we didn't get to talk about that you want to share and leave everybody with?
You can find me on Instagram at itschris.g. I think that I covered most of the things I want to speak about. I spoke about the job stacking, how to find jobs with LinkedIn. I tried to speak about my experience and how I got to where I'm going and my future visions and the companies and things like that. So I can't think of anything, around this spot of what else I wanted to mention, but hopefully, like, with the panels and the future interviews, if you guys end up following me, I'll end up like talking about different things. And
bro, y'all need to follow him. He's got some cool stuff. Dude, thank you so much, man, for being on, dude. Let us know in the future any way we can like support or like mention or shout out something that you're doing. Again, in the future, if we want to spin the block and have you back on, like as you start building out and doing other things, bro, would love to talk about that.
For sure. I appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, definitely, man. So look, y'all, thank y'all for tuning into this episode of Tech is the New Black. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode at least half as much as I did. It's a really great conversation. Listen, y'all, as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. Let us know what things you want us to work on so we can become 1% better each and every episode for you all, because this is about you at the end of the day. Aside from that, if you did love this episode, let us know by, liking, commenting, showing love, sharing this with a friend and other people, all of the stuff that the social media algorithm gods want you to do in order to feed the machine. Because at the end of the day, the more you do that and show us love, the more the algorithm will show you new things, cool things that we're doing. And even most importantly, beyond that, the more this will spread to help educate other people. So that way everybody can get this information. We love y'all. We'll see y'all in the next episode.